Yay. Okay, I pressed the
Okay.
right button. And we are delighted to have you all here, beloveds. My name is Donny Lowry,
And I'm Kirk Prime.
and we are here hosting yet another episode of Queer Tribes, where about every 4 to 6 weeks, we interview another gay luminary. And tonight we are delighted to have with us, let me admit somebody here.
Yeah.
We are delighted to have with us Alan Seward. Alan Seward, welcome, welcome, welcome. And
who for the purposes of his book is Alan Silver.
Alan Silver.
That's
I'm sorry, I forgot about
That's okay.
Yeah, Alan Silver, yes.
So give a bio for Alan so people know who he is.
I'm going to tell you a little bit about Alan Silver as he's shared with us. Well, he wrote the book Man of Use. He'll tell us more about that book. In that book, he shares experiences, lessons, and methodology from over 18 years of working as a sacred intimate around the world. Through play, vulnerability, and trusting the moment, he has helped hundreds of men to heal, to grow, face fears, and experience new levels of joy and pleasure. Over the last 18 plus years, Alan Silver has worked as a sacred intimate with over 500 different men in over 5,000 separate erotic sessions, with the goal to heal, grow, to face fears, and experience new levels of joy and pleasure. He has a not-so-secret agenda to foster play and connection and sexual expression between men. His adult film work includes the main character of Joe Gage's Dad series, as well as titles for Titan, Pantheon, and Chi Chi LaRue. Native of West Texas, he was a sensitive boy who would rather bake cakes than play football. He's one of the founding creators of the Gay Coaches Alliance. He's also a certified hand analyst and a web designer since the Flintstone days. He tells us he never met a butthole he didn't like. Today, he resides in San Francisco. Okay, well, that gives us an idea about you, Alan. We're glad to have you here. And let me put you on this. We learned about how to use Spotlight, so I'm going to put Spotlight for everyone.
And for right now, it looks like John joined us. Good.
Yes.
We'll have all of you mute yourselves for like the first 20 minutes or so, and we'll invite you at the end to share comments or questions for Alan. So Alan, you kind of know what these are all about because you've helped me post 1 billion of them on our website. So yeah. So the journey of our question, and you can spin off from wherever you want because you've got lots of good stuff to share with us. And so feel free to just, if the question doesn't cover it, still share whatever is kind of on your heart that you think these men, both present and those who will be watching it later, might want to hear from you. But the 3 questions.
Oh, okay.
The 3 questions are, usually about, tell us about your spiritual journey, which your whole book is, and tell us about the queer tribe, and if you think you're a part of the queer tribe, or if there is one. So a little bit about that, but the third one is share your vision for us as gay queer men, especially as a movement. And as a sexual healer, and what you bring to the table. So those are the questions, and I would be happy for you to just kind of flow with them as you wish. But tell us about kind of what the wake up calls, to the I love it in your book. You even talk about the calling. So you're calling to this work, but your wake up calls. Tell us anything you want.
Sure. Well, I'm not sure where I'll start with that, but first of all, thank you everyone for being here. I really appreciate you showing up. It's an honor. And I think when it really took off for me was when I was in Hawaii, and I went through a really painful breakup. And I thought I would be with this man for the rest of my life. And suddenly everything changed. Everything was different. And so in that, I put out an intention to the universe, a question to the universe. And man, be careful if you do that, because make sure, because you're going to get an answer. And the question was more or less, what am I here to do? I'm ready to get going with that. And then things started showing up. One of them was doing work with the Body Electric School, and really stepping into being on the staff of that world, and finding that I had both a desire and a gift to do this kind of work. But the question of my spiritual journey, which is that's a great question. So I'm open to the mystery of everything that is, and I can't explain what that is. I can't explain if there is a guardian angel or if there's spirits guiding you or whatever. However, I did get answers, and they came from somewhere. And I have intuitions, and I hear voices sometimes when I'm working with a client. And I think for me, I need it to stay ineffable. If it's pinned down into a belief system, then it's somehow, it slips away. So yeah, I guess that's my best I can answer spiritual journey for you.
Good. Good. Well, keep going. What's those awakenings? I mean, as I got a chance to read about half of your book already, and it's just like filled with all these stories where you had ahas, you had those epiphanies, you had, realizations about yourself, and as you were working with brothers who were helping to de-shame and get into their bodies, get into pleasure, or your word was discovery, into discovery. I love that.
Okay. Well, I was. I think what you made me think of with that is I had a big surprise. I discovered there was this enormous other self, like a whole other bigger self back there, that wanted to do things in the world, that had power, that had messages, and it was very erotic. And prior to that, I had been a very good boy. called myself a Boy Scout. I was in a monogamous relationship, and I planned to be in that for the rest of my life. And suddenly, I don't know of another way to say it except I wanted to fuck the world. I mean, in a good way, get out there and just like get going with everyone in the whole world. And that was an overwhelming and scary prospect once I started to settle into it. And in the Body Electric School, they and as in your work, Kirk, you really get to touch on some really weird experiments. And in one of those, I asked, I said, it's really time, and I'm ready, and that's when it really started taking off. I was at a power, surrender, and intimacy workshop at Wildwood when that happened, and as a matter of fact, we were doing a tableau in which I was there as a sacrifice in this tableau, and so I opened myself to the unknown. And shortly after that, I'd always been somebody with never worried about money. I grew up in a well-to-do family, and things started changing, and I had to get out there and earn a living. And I always wonder if that would have happened if I hadn't put that question out, but it was a motivator, a powerful motivator. I've been working as a sacred intimate for almost 20 years, and I have met a lot of other people who are doing some form of healing erotic work. And in my personal opinion, you kind of need to have some skin in the game, like you're really out there offering it, in my case, for money. If you're just playing around the edges, then it's a different story. But I was in it with both feet. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going off on.
Yeah, no, this is great. I mean, part of what I treasure and trust, should any of these men work with you in the future or buy your book or be a part of things that you're informing us about, is that you bring a level of integrity and as well as sensitivity to all men who love men, which is unique. So when I think about the next question about Queer Tribe, for me, Queer Tribe is an inclusive group of people, that we of orientations and genders are all mixed up and mushed together in this beautiful tapestry together. And you draw out the beauty in people, whether they find themselves beautiful or not.
Oh, thank you, Kirk. Wow, I like to think that's true. Thank you. Well, it's interesting. I'm listening to you talk. It's this a wonderful term that you use, the queer tribe, and I think we have a common thread in our how we are sexually, obviously. And as someone from my generation, we have a common thread of having dealt with a certain level of cruelty and being put down and being shamed. Initially, a lot of my work was around shame. It's over time has not been as heavily that. But even gay kids who grow up not being shamed, I do think there's a gay connection that we have. It's inevitable, right? I mean, what is that tribe?
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Yeah. And in many of the calls, many of the brothers have often talked about kind of, it takes one to know one. Like we mentioned the Sergeant Matlovich on the last call, it takes one to know one. And we feel that with each other, that connection. There is something, our gaydar that brings us together, our sexuality, our common desires. So you get that. So as a minister, I'll call you a minister. How about that? That may be the first time. A minister to the queer tribe, and especially to queer men. Do you what in the work that you've done over the years in helping men? What are some of the things that have changed you as well as changed them? Can you tell us any stories that you have permission to do that?
A number of thoughts go through my head when what you said. So I think what I'll just say, what's popping up, which is what I've learned is to relax. I still get nervous before every session. But one of the key components of my work that I've identified is trusting the moment. And there are times when you're with somebody and you don't know what to do, and you think you've got all these badass tools you've been trained in, and you got to remember that you're just there being a human with another human, and seeing what happens and opening up. So the approach is to see if you can just make some form of connection rather than thinking you've got a magic box you're going to pull off a shelf with this thing that's going to cure this guy. And in that letting go, everything else can show up. But when you're trying to control it, or if you're thinking, with your ego, then you're not able to access that. It's a challenge. I think that's been my biggest lesson. I used to have index cards of everything ready to go for a client. So I would plan to see a client, and I, would make notes about what he was coming there to see me, and get his intention. And then, say I had that all ready to go, time down to the minute, and he shows up and he's like, you know what? I'm in a totally different headspace. And this thing occurred to me this morning while I was taking a shower, and I want to explore that. You have to be open to that. And it is such an honor when that you're looking for that opening, you're looking for them to find some little clue that they'll open to explore, that's their voice coming to them and telling them that.
Yeah.
And it's just, makes me jump up and down inside when when somebody does that.
Yeah. That's, well, it's your opportunity, or the invitation that they're bringing to you, and in our work, in our body story work, which is, everything that we do basically, it's about what's coming up to the surface in the moment, and that's what the invitation for
Yes.
healing is now. So that's
Yes.
what I hear you saying is, somebody may have scheduled an appointment with you and thought, oh, I have this erotic fantasy that I want to play out, or I just want some companionship. I'm feeling lonely, or, and I don't want to fill in the blanks as to all those possibilities. I much rather hear.
I was in, you made me think of something. I was in Washington, D.C. the day of the election for Trump, and I had all these clients that I had lined up, and there were things like, oh, I want to work on this issue, or I have this fantasy I want to explore, and then one after another, the ones that came in, some canceled, but the ones that came in is like, I just want you to hold me, and let's just. They were all in shock, and they just needed, to be held and taken care of. So things can shift. Yeah. Hey, it's fun talking to you, Kirk.
What's that?
It's fun talking to you.
Yeah. No, this is great. This is great. And I'm sure ideas are cooking, and questions are cooking in the audience as well, that they may want to share. So if you think about the work, kind of the unique calling that you've said yes to, but and some of the men probably on here are either doing similar work or are drawn to that work. Do you have wisdom to share with them, or a vision for them, knowing that everybody's an individual and they have to figure out their own path? That's a given. But do you think there are things that you could share with them that might take them a little bit further, or give them support and encouragement to go further? Because the bottom line is, beloved, for me, is you're visible. There are a lot of people doing work like ours who do it invisibly. And that's good work. And I honor that work. And at the same time, there's a different, as you put it, skin in the game. There's a different skin in the game when you say, hi, my name is Alan Seward, as you did in the I'm sorry, keep doing it, Alan Silver in the book, and yeah, I'm here to guide you on your discovery journey. But are there things, or is there a vision that you might have, not for just even the queer tribe, but especially for men who are exploring erotic spirituality, either as a profession or even as a client?
Well, okay, I can only speak from my point of view, which is my core need is to be useful. And so that's always my question. Am I being useful to this man? And it's challenging to know that. And it is also, there are both tangible and intangible ways to know if you're being useful. And speaking of visibility, I am visible in the world in a certain way, as you say. However, I also feel invisible in many ways. For example, I would never go to sit on an aeroplane and the person next to me asks me what I do. I never really tell them. And I might, if I can get around to it, but I will give them something kind of vague, like I do healing work with gay men.
Yep.
And that usually will shut most people up. And they don't feel invited to continue. So I'm guessing a lot of my comrades out there have a similar experience. Let's see. But yeah, this thing about being useful is my core. And yeah, I don't know if I want you to go into that more, but there are simple things to know that you're being useful, like this man came to me because he wanted to be able to get undressed in front of another man. Did we achieve that? And did he really do that, or did he just bulldoze his way through it? So those are tangible things, but then there's the intangible ways of feeling and knowing that you're useful. Did I do everything I could for this man? Was I genuinely there? Things like that. And then you ultimately really don't know. And I've had clients go away and it's like they had this very wet blanket session from my point of view. You can't project what you're feeling onto them. They may be feeling something completely different inside while it's going on. And then a week later, the same man will write you and say, that was a powerful experience that changed my life. And you had no idea. You thought you were just sitting there with a brick, and you just got to love them. You just got to help them if you can. And you don't always know if you have.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. Well, I'm reminded of a little bit that I've read of your book. You talk about men after they've left and how you don't want them to leave unfulfilled. So you're kind of teaching them to get as clear as they possibly can so that they're not driving away going, oh, I only wish I had done this with Alan or explored this. And what a gift of generosity that you're not on a template that I do this and this is all you get.
Yeah.
You're kind of open to listen and show up and be present to whatever it is, and that is truly
you don't want to get stuck in a template or the magic won't be there. Yeah, you get it, Kirk.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also reminded as you talk, our experience of working with, thousands of queer men like you and doing touch and so forth, what are men really hungry for? So are they really hungry for sex? Are they really hungry for connection? Are they really hungry to find themselves? Are they really hungry to actually block out the stressors of the world? Are they really, so the hunger, I love what you said before about, what's up right now, when somebody shows up, it may have been different than what they initially said. But tell us a little bit about that hunger, because all of these guys, we all have our own hunger. And I'm wondering, what are some of the hungers that you see that actually are both our gifts and our wounds that make us a queer tribe?
Well, I think that if you can get connected to what the genuine hunger is, a lot of men will come in and they think they've watched too many porn movies, perhaps, and think they should perform a certain way or like a certain thing, and are really frustrated around that. And that's not really what the hunger is. Their hunger isn't really to be a drop your pants anytime bottom that can just take the biggest dick in the world. Their hunger is for that something else. For example, could be that they just want a genuine connection with another man. In its most simple terms, but the question is to find out what their hunger is, and sometimes it is a higher one, like why? What am I here to do? That kind of thing. It's all over the map, and what a pleasure if you get to explore that with somebody sincerely.
Yeah. Powerful, great. Well, I definitely want to leave a few minutes for men to chat with you as well, but I'm going to stay with the vision part just a little bit longer.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
You know, because you've done all of our web work for forever. People like Audre Lorde, her work around eroticism and personal power and changing the world and being a change agent is so in my heart. So, my calling is always about change within to make change without, and using our bodies to do that in service and used, as you said. And Um, I
Here's-
just,
okay,
go
sorry.
ahead.
I just gotta tell you, Kirk, I was thinking about something today about you because I think we have a very similar philosophy around what our bodies know what to do.
yeah.
And this is something I encounter so often with my clients. It's just getting all the shit, all the shoulds out of the way that are blocking them from just, knowing what to do. And suddenly their hand knows where to go. Their mouth knows what to do. And our bodies are dancing in the pleasure ether, you just got to get the shit out of the way.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to stop you.
Yeah,
it
no,
was-
that's fabulous.
Yeah, that's kind of your philosophy too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And the more we get the shit out of the way, more I believe we know who we are individually and as a tribe, and we're more effectively creating change.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. So last little thread. Is there anything broadly speaking or erotically speaking for us that you have as a vision for us as a queer tribe? What is your hope? What do you imagine for us? I mean, we live in such crazy polarized times. And so work like yours and ours and probably all the men who are on here is just really, really important to keep the balance, if nothing else. But is there a vision, or do you have visions for us? And if you don't, it's okay. I mean,
Yeah, that's okay. No, it's a great question. I think I have a vision for any given individual, but I don't have a vision for the larger world. And I'm like you, I think when you can tune into who you really are and what you really like and what you really don't like, you move so much closer to resonating in the world in a way that is going to be useful and attractive and interesting and happy.
right.
So my approach is on an individual basis, probably to build something better. And more recently, it's been just to keep people from not being in total freak out mode and staying connected to their pleasure of their body, which a few years back that was like a given almost, and now it's like almost have to backtrack and kind of keep that pilot light going.
Yeah. That's certainly been our experience too. Is during COVID and all the polarization stuff, there is kind of a numbness or a guardedness or a shield that I didn't experience 5 years ago with men. Even men who were in the closet coming out and saying, I'm scared, It feels different. So the times are different, and they definitely are influencing who shows up for this juicy, wonderful companion. I think of our beloved, she may even be on the call, but Barbara Buckley, who does what's called companioning work. Well, you do companioning work. You just use your whole body in that, as well as your intuition to be present and to make a difference. All right, enough. A lot of goodies for folks who are listening in, and we want to open the lines for you all. So if you just raise your hand and unmute yourself, and if you have a question or comment for Alan, go for it.
I'm going to ask the first question. I've never done this before, but I
it.
have a question for you, Alan. So my question is, how do you replenish yourself?
Mm-hmm.
How do you keep that fire burning within you?
Good.
Yeah. That's a great question. I have to remind myself to do it. One of the core ones for me is nature. And I got to remind myself to get out there and just, go to the beach or go to the mountains and look at the trees or something. That's one of my big ones. This is a little slightly different answer, but it's coming up for me. I often get asked, if you have multiple sessions in a day, aren't you burnt out? Aren't you exhausted? I mean, there were periods of time where I was seeing 7 people a day. And if they are good sessions, it's just the opposite. I'm just jazzed, and the clients leave jazzed. And, so it's not work like work. It's it's play and it's energizing.
Yeah.
And I just want to mention to you guys, you may not know this, but Donny and I have exactly the same birthday. It's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, we're July 19th. We won't mention the year, but
You jumped into the planet at the same time.
Yeah.
So
That's right. That's right. So I like resonate with Donny all the time.
yes, yes.
Great.
Thank you, Alan.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks for that question.
So
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead and just rest of you unmute yourself and blurt it out. Yeah.
What would you like to know?
Magic, please. Why don't you go ahead and unmute yourself, please? Welcome.
Hello, thank you, Alan. This is really informative. I really love where you're coming from. I am starting to do massage, and the idea of connecting with my clients where they're at is the big challenge. Because I'm trying to love them and give them a sacred experience. And yet the shit that you're talking about is how they've been domesticated into fucking, ejaculating, using somebody, swipe left, you're my look, I like you, you know, and so easily rejected. And so to me, my question is the connection an all or nothing? Or is the connection just moments of where that man was open?
Yeah, it's increments is the way I would think of that. Like if you think about Mr. Spock, if he has one teardrop, that's huge for him. But to a normal human, that's like, you know, big deal. Your mother died, you know, and so you take the little advances where you can, and you have such a good intention. I can tell from what you're saying about how you want to take care of these men. Just, you know, try and meet them where they are and get just a little bit of progress is a lot. You know, it's exponential if you can just get a little progress with them about allowing them to touch you, or allowing them to have pleasure, or allowing them to be seen naked, or whatever's going on there. You've made progress. It can be frustrating. So like,
I've got some history in body electric, and to me, sex is sacred. And once I put sex in the sacred realm, then there is no right or wrong. It's all an experience. And yet, if I think of the divine as sacred and evil and dirty as profane, so much of the word profanity has been so judged and condemned. And when I look at the definition of the word, it means of the earth. And so if I'm profane, I'm of the earth, and I'm just being my animal self. And yet I've been conditioned and domesticated as porn as my teacher, and that's not sacred. It's piston fucking.
That's because the powers that want to control things don't want us to have access to this kind of big pleasure that everyone has available to them.
Yeah.
You know, they want to be the ones that have all the power and the control, and you got to go to them to go for everything. So, you know, we got to shut down that erotic crap. We can't let people know that they can enjoy themselves. That's my take on it.
And this is, again, what I really like about what you're saying. It's like, aside from all of that judgment, criticism, shame, all that stuff, that's that. I still have a hunger. I still have a need. I still have a desire.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Beautiful.
Keep it up, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Who else would like to comment or ask a question? I'm sure Alan's words have stirred all of us. So,
Alan, you mentioned some training that you've been through. I'm just really curious of like, what was it, just a body story and body electric, or what are the things that you've gone through? And then secondly, you talked about like the clients you've seen throughout a day or so. Like, are you doing this in your home, or do you like rent a space? And then like the third part of that is like, where are you, like, how are you finding your clients?
Okay, wow, let me see if I can remember all those questions. I want to just throw in a quick plug for Peaceful Warrior, which I think is one of the coolest things ever invented. I learned a lot from that. Kirk and Donny do that. I've done a lot of work with the Body Electric School, fasting in nature, and just listening to you know, what's out there in the mystery space, honing that skill. but a big piece of my training was also power, surrender, and intimacy, which is a conscious S&M series of workshops that Body Electric does. And so that's a quick answer to things. I'm also a certified massage therapist and a hand analyst. The second, oh golly, now I knew I wouldn't remember. The first one was what's the training. The second one, oh help me. What'd you ask?
So the second one was to your training, and then you talked about your clients that you see throughout a day. Like, where do you see your clients?
Where?
And then how
And
do you
how do I find them?
And then
Okay.
I'm curious, what is a hand? I'm sorry, what did you call it?
Yeah, hand analyst. It's something. So every form of every civilization has a form of hand analysis, palm reading, if you will. But there's a wonderful group out of Tiburon. This guy named Richard Unger, who created a system that has taken all of the different systems in the world and looked for the commonalities and added some of his own. And it's really cool. And that's part of how I know who I am, is that I am a person of service. Based on my fingerprints and other things. That is my calling, is to be of service. I also have a indicator that tunes into a non-regular way of tuning into understanding. And that has turned out to be true for me as well. So that ties into me doing what I do. Where do I see people? I see them in my home in San Francisco. There was a period where I had a separate studio that I worked out of, which was much better, but couldn't afford to keep that going. And how do I find? I also travel a lot, and so we'll see people in hotels. Sometimes I occasionally go to them, especially if somebody's handicapped. I will go to them. How do I find them? I advertised on a lot of different sites over the years. At this point, I have a reputation and people recommend me, I'm very grateful for. And so it's a weird thing, because I will advertise on basically what are escort sites. And I don't have an issue being hired by someone for just a sexual experience. I just need the intention to be clear that that's what we're there for. And if they are not welcoming me to help them with their issues or healing, I do not go there. It's wrong. I consider that a immoral thing to do to someone. It's sneaky. If they do let me in, though, I'm ready to help them. Does that answer your questions?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl.
Yeah, thank you. We can take a couple more. John.
Alan, I'm just a little confused by what you just said about a person who says they just want to come for sex. Are you saying that's never all that we want, and to be open to that? Is that what you're saying, or is it something else?
Oh, no. So I've had people contact me to say, I don't want this hippy dippy healing shit. I just want to get fucked. So that's a clear intention, and that's okay. However, it also may be when I'm with them and I'm noticing certain things about the way they communicate or behave or their body language that I could help them with if they were open to it. And that's a hypothetical scenario. Let's say he's not open to it. Well, then I don't offer it.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions before we wind up?
I do. I have a couple more questions, if you're okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I mean, you talked about being a massage therapist. I am also, and I mean, how do you? I've been approached a couple times, multiple times, especially throughout COVID, to do this work, and I've always kind of steered away from, because I'm afraid of losing like my main source of income, which is massage, right? And like on a therapeutic standpoint, how did you navigate that for yourself? And I mean, when you're doing more healing work, are you also still, I mean, this is a technical question, are you still doing like soap notes for this, or is it kind of things that you just leave aside?
Yeah, I couldn't quite understand the last part of that question.
Are you still doing soap notes for the healing work, or is that something that you leave aside?
Soap notes?
Soap notes, it's a formal way of keeping track of a client's progress taught in massage school.
Oh, thank you. Okay, well, they didn't teach me that in my Sorry. I used to keep copious notes on my clients, and I couldn't keep up with it. And then I work pretty much from a place of intuition most of the time, so it wasn't that helpful. But to answer your question, yeah, it's you're not gonna like it, but it's gonna have to be what's right for you, of course. I can only speak for myself. My calling was so great to be out there in a direct and full on sexual way with my clients that I decided to just go ahead and inhabit that. There is some peril in doing that in terms of professionally, but I had a calling and I needed to do it. Now there are, in terms of what you might do, there are a lot of options. There's like more formal ways to do this. For example, the sexological bodywork school, that approach, in which is recognized by the state of California, and maybe other places, hopefully by now. But that's a way to be more erotic with the client, still have a professional container around it. But I don't know. We'd have to. I mean, if you want to talk sometime about how you might structure your work, I'd be happy to.
I would like that very much.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Imagine one more question. Yes, please.
One more question. All right. In Minnesota, tantric massage is considered prostitution.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely under the radar.
Uh-huh.
I do advertise through a local or a national service. And I always kind of do a little questionnaire, like, what are you looking for? And then I can always tell. I mean, when they show up, I can tell. And it's also what you said, the body will reach for it. Like when I'm massaging and they're on their back or on their belly, I mean, and all of a sudden there's like this little hydro lift and their butt just goes right up in the air. And it's like, oh, I guess there's an invitation here.
Yeah.
And so I'm learning to intuit that.
Yeah.
And yet my point is that love to me is a state of awareness. It's a consciousness. And being polyamorous, I can access that consciousness. And if I hold that consciousness as sacred, it does attract people that are ready for that or who are looking for that. And I have noticed that I have to hold that polyamorous love for everyone with integrity and respect, because I do know that communication is the response I get. It's not what I say, it's what they hear. And so there's a lot of misunderstanding in my touch. And so I really encourage my clients to be verbal. And yet I feel like part of my calling is to help teach men that love is an inside job. It's based on my ability to love and accept myself.
Great.
And so many of us have been taught that I'm looking for the one. The one has it all. And love, I have to look good. I have to make enough money. I have to be with the right. I mean, those are all external validators. And we're programmed that that's how we get love. So what's my question? Do you find that do you teach men to love themselves, or do you remind them to love themselves?
Not in a direct way. This is a place where I'm a little sneaky. It's my secret agenda to get them to where they love themselves. And my chief tool in that is playfulness. So the answer is yes, I am. I'm loving them and I'm helping them to learn to love themselves. It's one of those things, like certain things you can't say because it sabotages the intention in an ironic way. One of those is relax. You tell someone to relax, they effort to relax. So I have to do it a different way. That's been my experience. And you tell them, just love yourself. You can't tell them to do that. You have to like find an avenue to help them love themselves. Like, hey, what does it feel like when I touch you here? Does that feel like a good part of your body? Yeah, isn't that nice? Yeah, aren't you glad to have that little spot under your armpit that feels really good when I touch it? And then you just like build from there, things like that. And I want to say I really admire what you're doing too, because you're in a place where it's really got to be under the radar, and it's probably needed even more so because of that, if that's the way things are.
It's needed globally. And I really do feel like play, to me, sex is fun. If I'm not having fun with sex, then I have a hidden agenda.
Yeah.
There's something about playfulness we as adults, I mean, we even call it adulting, and we have responsibilities, and you grow up already. It's like, wait a minute, play with me. Come and play. I love playing.
Right.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Good. So Alan, how would you like people to contact you, or what would you like to offer?
Oh, sure. Well, I want everybody to go buy my book and sell it and get their friends.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So it's Man of Use by Alan Silver, and it is, you can go to manofuse.com is the simplest thing to do. And there's links to everything from there.
Good. Okay.
Great.
All right. So we'll refer them to that website, manofuse.com.
Yeah. And there's a way to contact me through that if you want to
Okay.
contact me.
Great. Excellent.
Well, good. Well, unfortunately, we've reached the limit of our
I
time.
know. We could go on for days.
Yes, we could go
And
on.
this is a juicy group of men
Yeah.
who would do days, I'm sure. So,
Yeah.
so anyway, thank you so much, beloved.
Thank you.
For
Thank you for showing up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, opening up and showing us, you made a commitment to your calling, and nothing touches my heart more deeply is when people are authentically, congruently who they are and respond to that which is greater than themselves. And you've done that and are doing that. And I bless you and I thank you for that. So, all right, we are about to end the call, and next call, actually, we're going to do we do an ecstatic anybody who's in San Francisco or around San Francisco, we do these regular ecstatic massage trainings and kind of frame them in an archetype, and we're framing the next one November the 13th around the ecstatic prophet or prophets and being prophetic.
February.
February. Yeah, February.
That'd be really far.
Yeah, that
out.
would be really far out.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
But our next call, then I'm actually going to kind of do some warm up stuff on the Queer Tribe call February the 7th, I think it is. And talk about the ecstatic prophets, and to get us warmed up and juiced up for the massage experience that we're going to have. So at any rate, thank you all for being with us. Check our website, www.fleshandspirit.org, and we love you all.
Yes. Blessings to all of you, brothers.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Yeah.
Guys.
Good night, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.